The Wally Show podcast is our daily radio show heard live through the WayFM app each morning and hosted by Wally, Gavin, and me, Betty Rock. For more fun, be sure to connect with us at wayfm.com/Wally.
The Wally Show podcast is brought to you by Colorado Christian University Online, where you can earn a degree online just like Betty Rock. You can learn more at ccu.edu/Wally. Let's not overthink this.
Don't think too hard about it.
It's news-ish on The Wally Show.
What you got, Gavin?
Ephesians 4:26
Oh, starting with some Bible.
says, "Be angry and do not sin. Do not let the sun go down on your anger." But some experts, some psychologists say that there's a good argument, in fact, to go to sleep angry.
Are these experts that want to go against God? Okay, let's hear them out.
These also say, and this is being angry at your spouse.
Okay.
So then these might just be single experts as well.
Yeah, and this is grandma advice too. Never go to bed mad.
Yeah.
And so
And I live by that.
Yeah.
I'm a
hate
quick resolution seeker, but they say that delaying sleep to resolve an argument can backfire for several reasons.
Okay.
When you're exhausted, you're less inhibited and thus have less control of your emotions.
Less filter.
So you're way more impulsive and you're way more likely to say things that you don't mean and will later regret.
Actually, not bad advice.
Nope. Sleep reduces your brain. So this is, when you do get the sleep, it reduces your brain's reactivity to negative stimuli or perceived negative stimuli. I like that word. It helps process emotions and restores your ability to approach problems rationally.
Okay.
And now I think that that's smart because it allows you to get that rest, wake up not tired, maybe a little less angry. Maybe you've either had time to figure out that it's not as bad as it was, or maybe you've had time to figure out that it's worse than it was.
Yeah, I don't know. For me, I hate something hanging over my head. So the idea of going to bed and then waking up knowing there's a fight coming, I would hate that. I would sleep horribly. I'd be just as tired the next day.
Yeah.
So I might as well knock it out the night before.
Well, and I know that it's just different for each
And when
person.
I say knock it out, I don't mean my wife.
No, don't knock her out.
I mean literally knock out the issue the night before. Uplifting WayFM, this is the Wally Show. Gavin on the show is trying to get jacked, working out, eating better, goes to the gym before work some days just to make me feel worse about my life choices. I appreciate you for that. But he's eating less snacks because of that. But Gavin, you are not alone. Apparently, we as Americans, all of us here, our snack consumption is going down.
Which is so anti-American
Exactly.
at the same time.
The thing we've been judged for harshly for so many years, but we have the best snacks, better than any other country. I've traveled to a lot of countries, and I've tried to eat their gas station food. It's not as good.
We've got it dialed in over here.
We're pretty awesome at it, But I am curious, okay? So we like science on the show, and I'm curious what your theory is as to why Americans are eating less snacks, okay? We'll take one off the table to get healthier like Gavin, okay?
Yes.
That's a pretty easy one. But there are a couple other reasons that experts gave for the reasons why we're eating less snacks. I'm just curious if you can figure one of these out, okay? 855-33-WAY-FM. That's 855-33-WAY-FM. There's one on here that I totally had not thought of, and that's the reason we're doing it. It surprised me, and I'm curious if it will surprise you as well. So, with that said, my theory is, what is your theory on why we as Americans are grabbing less snacks? 855-33-WAY-FM. So what would you say?
I would just think that you need the money for actual food nowadays with all the price increase.
You know what? You actually got something on this list. Nicely done. It's in that same ballpark. It's saying the prices for chips have gone crazy. And it's true. If you go get a bag of chips, it's $4 now.
And it's halfway there. I mean, you don't even get the full thing.
Yeah, they give you lots of air and less chips, and they think we don't notice. Oh, we notice. We're just addicted to the chips. Well, nicely done. That was number 3 on the list. Thank you for helping us out today.
You're welcome. Have a good one, guys.
You too. Bye. All right, Nick, you're up. What is another reason that you think that Americans are grabbing for less snacks now?
It's the red dyes and the chemicals, the stuff that the snacks are made out of.
Dude, that actually made the list too. It's like you've seen the same thing. You saw the same post. Reduce artificial dyes. There's a lot of talk about that right now, but there always has been. When I was a kid, I think it was red dye number 9 or red dye 56, something like that. I don't know. I just wanted a lot of it. My mom was like, no, you can have none of this.
Well, it makes it easier if you don't look at the package.
Oh, 100%. Ignorance is bliss, I guess.
That's philosophy. It's got me through a lot of snack packages.
Absolutely. The one on this list that nobody mentioned that surprised me, I'm curious if you will be surprised too, it's the increased use of prescription drugs. The Wegovy's and the weight loss drugs that everybody is doing. It suppresses your appetite. You don't feel like eating.
Oh.
And so we're reaching for less snacks, and they cited this as one of the main reasons.
The good Lord put these snacks on the earth for a reason, so somebody needs to partake of them.
Yeah, and you know what? Everybody that's doing Wegovy, you're just leaving more snacks for me and Nick.
That's right, Wally.
Uplifting Way FM, this is The Wally Show. And when you need a little bit of that uplifting, in addition to the music, we have something called the prayer wall, where if you got stuff going on, you can post prayer requests. People will pray for you, and then they check a box that says, I prayed for this, and you'll actually get a notification if you choose to that just says, hey, somebody prayed for you. And it's kind of a cool thing because you give prayer requests all the time, like at church or whatever, and people say, I'll pray for you. And then you're like, are they? Do they? Because sometimes it's a default reaction.
It's nice to have that notification, too, because you could be going throughout your day, have a bad hour, and then bing, there's that one notification that says that somebody somewhere is thinking of you and praying for you.
Yeah, like I wish we had that when we were doing small group prayer requests. Like, and everyone's like, okay, we got to pray for these things, and I'll pray for you this week. You know what? Send me a text when you do. I want to know. I want some proof. So this is your proof that people are praying for you, which is kind of cool. And some of the things that are on the prayer wall are like super timely. Like this one was like, my 1-year-old son just went back for open heart surgery. Yikes, that's scary. You being a new dad know what that's like, and because your son Bennett had to have a surgery too.
Yeah, no, that's a lot.
Yeah, and so he was like, he's getting his procedure done today. We're praying he's in good hands and also for his mom and dad while they wait, because that's another one. Then there's another one about another son, older. My son, Chris, is 35. He has Down syndrome. Tomorrow he has to have a surgery to remove an ICD wires that were attached to his heart. I'm requesting prayers for not only a successful surgery and that he experiences little discomfort as possible because he doesn't understand what's happening. He'd prefer to stay home and watch Thomas the Train. Wouldn't we all? Chris, he said he's been through a lot in his life, and this is one of the scarier events. We're really scared. We're really worried, but we trust God. That's the thing, man. Yeah, you can trust God, absolutely, but it still doesn't take the mama or the father out of you where you still are concerned about what's going on for your kid. And so to be able to post something and have people be with you and get notifications that they're praying for you, I think is a really cool thing, a really cool aspect of the prayer wall. And you can be part of it in two ways. You can post a prayer request and you can pray for people. That's the way it works. And if you want to check it out, just text the word prayer to 91979. That's prayer to 91979, and we'll send you a link.
Monday School is a chance for Wally to share what he learned at church and prove that he went.
There is a big difference between wisdom and knowledge. We've been looking at that. And wisdom is knowing how to use knowledge that you have, or wisdom doesn't require you to be book smart. We call it common sense today, and that is a form of wisdom. And so we've been looking at the life of Solomon. When God asked him what he wanted, he didn't ask for money or power, he asked for wisdom. And God gave it to him. But that wisdom led him to good decision-making initially, and it made him one of the wealthiest men of all time. It's estimated that in today's money, Solomon would have been worth over $1 trillion.
That is kind of crazy to put into perspective.
That's how much this guy had amassed. I mean, even Jeff Bezos would be like, what? I got to work harder. So Solomon, though, lost his way. He gets consumed by all the trappings of this life. Even though he had wisdom, this guy had 700 wives, 300 concubines, just palaces everywhere. He said, I denied myself nothing that my eyes desired. I refused my heart no pleasure. But in the end, he surmised it was all meaningless. And it's very dramatic. He's like, meaningless, meaningless, meaningless
very
in the Bible. It's really great, though, But Solomon, like, you have everything I want. If I had what you had, then I would be happy. But the reality was he was empty, and it is empty. And this is where his wisdom kicked back in, because he turned his heart back to God again, because he knew to return to God, because everything he had tried to fill that void with in his life just left him empty inside. And I think that on a smaller scale than $1 trillion, I think most of us live in this space at one point in time or another. Solomon wrote Ecclesiastes, and there is a line in there that actually got turned into a song in the 60s. like turn by the birds, I think. But it's a time to be born, a time to die, a time to weep, a time to laugh. You know that verse. But like time is a precious commodity. That's what we were kind of talking about at church. And we've heard that phrase, it's just a matter of time. No, it's a matter of priorities because we're all overly busy. When we, say, well, when things slow down, I'll go see my parents. Or if I work harder, I can spend more time with my kids. But trust me, that time will never come if you don't make and decide to make a change. And so our goal should be truly not to waste the time that we have been given. Don't waste time that you could be spending with God or spend with our families. And our pastor asked this question. He says, how do you spell love? And so you're thinking Love. He said, no, Time.
No.
Time. That's how you spell love. People say time is money, but if we're being wise, like Solomon, time is love. And that's your Monday School for today.
Hey, Wally, do you have a minute?
Sorry, busy.
I have cake.
Oh, what do you need?
Yeah, see, that's a perfect example of even though we are busy, we make time for what's important.
Yeah, because going back to school as an adult, you're busy with work, you've got family, but if you want to make your education a priority, trust me, you can do it. Betty did.
Like when I first started, I was super intimidated because it had been a while since I've been in school. But from the very first conversation, I felt like they were setting me up for success.
Yeah, and going back to school with CCU's flexible online courses makes it so convenient.
Yeah, and what's so cool is every class has a biblical worldview perspective. And so you think, well, how can they turn math into a biblical worldview? They find a way.
Yeah, and that was one of my jobs when I was teaching at CCU was integrating not just the facts and figures of things, but how your faith plays into what you're going to do.
CCU offers Christ-centered higher education, transforming students to impact the world with grace and truth.
Cultivate your mind without compromising your heart. Get started today at online.ccu.edu. Colorado Christian University is a non-profit impact partner.
Finding the good in the bad. It's News-ish on The Wally Show.
Sad news for President Biden, former President Biden. He's battling an aggressive form of prostate cancer, and they said that his condition is characterized by a score of 9 on the Gleason scale.
Oh.
And I had never heard the Gleason scale, so I looked it up, and it's a scale from 1 to 10, and it takes into account multiple factors. And so, you can do the math. 9 is not good. But there's hope because it's not 10 yet, so that's a good thing. But one of the things that I hope that when people hear about this is that they can put politics aside and see the humanity and remember that this man is a son, a husband, a father, a grandfather, because a lot of times we label people based on ideologies or things we don't agree with politically, and then that dehumanizes them in our mind, and some people could even think, well, good, you deserve it, or whatever, and so I think that that's a sad commentary on the way that we look at things a lot of times. But the problem for former President Biden is that it metastasized to the bone, so surgery is not even an option in cases like his, and so the disease has spread to his bones, and it's not confined just to the prostate anymore. So there are other treatments that they say can slow the progression and manage the symptoms, and can help him, with whatever this looks like for him. But just like I don't want to politicize this, I also don't want to make it overly spiritual to where people, go, oh, I knew Trump was God's man and this is God's will here. But I would say that God does see things on a bigger scale, and that, we don't see it all. And so let's roll this out. Say Joe had been president, he'd be in the fight of his life while still trying to run a country. And it's hard enough to fight serious cancer when you work as a teacher, and you need to be able to focus on that fight. And so maybe for him, and all I'm saying is that for him, losing was not the worst thing. Mm-hmm. In him, being taken out of that, his whole party and stuff like that. But for him, not being able to run was not the worst thing, because now he can be with his wife and with his kids and with his grandkids and give this his best fight and spend the time that he needs with them, instead of having to deal with all the stuff and the pressures that come with being a president. And so hopefully he'll get that time and make the most of the time. They haven't said oh, this is, terminal, because I didn't know this, but 35,000 deaths a year come from prostate cancer for men.
Man. And then in this case, he's, a man who's up there in age.
Yeah.
And might not have the greatest immune system
Sure.
this late in life. And your heart breaks because you're like, you've done so much. You've worked so hard for
Yeah.
so long. It'd be great to just have a peaceful end of kind of the last part of your life, but it's a bummer that this is what it looks like now.
The upside is, he'll get the best treatment.
True.
And but that's the sad thing though too. He'll get all the best treatment, but then other people that this is more of the commentary on our healthcare system that needs to be addressed, because he'll get it all, and then other people that really need it too, and might even be younger and have families and stuff like that. They're fighting their insurance companies just to get the most basic care, And so again, I'm not trying to politicize that, but that just kind of hit me in that moment. But definitely for him and his family, we absolutely wish them the best as they walk through this.
Strong, try to make them all think I'm strong.
Uplifting Way FM, this is the Wally Show. I am not strong. I found out recently my internet, my wireless router at my house went out, and I tried everything to fix it. I went through all the stuff. I'm reading things online, did all the things. Finally, nope, got to call customer service. It's dead. And so talked to them. They're like, okay, well, you got to jump through 8 more hoops to get your router replaced. Thank you very much, TP-Link, for nothing. So I have to go back and find a receipt from 3 years ago and a place of purchase and a picture of this and a picture of that. It's like, oh my goodness. And so I'm having to jump through all these hoops. Meanwhile, I have no internet. And so I'm like, you know what? It's fine. It's like a day or two. It's not a big deal. But then all my TV is connected to the internet now, so there's no TV. I'm trying to work from home, and so I would tether my phone so I could use my phone internet to do my job.
There's just too much that revolves around this
Yeah.
to not solve it quicker.
And my wife, it's funny because my wife was the one getting more worked up about it, because she's trying to do her job stuff too for her travel stuff. And it's like she can't even get her phone to tether. And that's when she was like, okay, we got to do something. So I went out, even though a new router is supposedly making its way to me, I wasn't strong enough to make it a couple days without internet. I went and bought another router myself.
You know what? I don't even blame you, because these tech companies, they promise so many things.
Yeah.
They are very slow to deliver.
I know. If I see a router within 2 weeks, I would be amazed.
Oh, 100%.
But then I'm on a time crunch, because I told the guy at Best Buy what was going on, and I'm like, so if I like this, I'll keep it, and I'll just keep the other one as a backup, But if not, can I return it even though I used it? He's like, you got 15 days. I'm like,
come on now.
It's gonna be down to the wire. I know it. I just know it. They're gonna wait. But the point of this whole thing is I thought I was gonna be stronger than my wife, with the internet, and I'm like, babe, it's just a couple days. Don't worry about it. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. I was gonna make it. And I don't even like to read or do anything else, but she caved, and then I caved instantly too. I'm like, okay, good. And so I was not as strong as I thought. So this is what we want to discuss with you. 855-33-WAY-FM. That's 855-33-WAY-FM. What was a time that you realized you weren't quite as strong as you thought? Maybe it comes to your kids asking you for things, and you're like, I'm going to toe the line, and I'm going to not do that. And then all of a sudden you find yourself giving in. Ask me about my daughter's wedding. Things like that. So 855-33-WAY-FM. We'll take yours right now. That time that you were not just quite as strong as you thought.
Strong, try to make them all think I'm strong.
So what was that time you weren't quite as strong as you thought you were?
I just got recently married in November. My older 2 children's biological dad's not in the picture. So my now husband was the only dad she ever really knew. And I made it through my wedding without crying up until they started doing their daddy-daughter dance, and I lost it. It was the ugly snot cry.
That is completely acceptable and understandable. That's great, because, you want her to have a dad in her life that loves her. That's all you want. And so to see them have that moment, I'll ugly cry when I do my own daddy-daughter dance with my daughter. I've already heard the song and I start crying.
Oh, it was rough, but at the same time, it was just precious. He's been there since she was 8 years old, and that's the only dad she knows.
I love that, and I'm glad that she has a close relationship with him, because that doesn't always go that way. And so the fact that that's y'all's story is so great.
That was my moment where I was like, I'm strong, I'm going to be fine. Nope.
Well, there you go. That's Ashley's. What is that time that you weren't quite as strong as you thought you were? We got time for one or two more. 855-33-WAY-FM. That's 855-33-WAY-FM. So what was that time for you that you weren't quite as strong as you thought you were?
We're foster parents, and we've had a lot of kids that have come and gone, but we had a baby for 16 months. We got her when she was a week old, and when she left, we just weren't as strong as we thought we were.
Oh, I can't even imagine that. Like, that's the thing that maybe keeps a lot of people out of fostering, where, they're like, I can't handle the heartbreak of sending a child back. So what would you say to them? I mean, because there's got to be other benefits that you're putting yourself through that heartbreak for.
Well, first, we always said that if nothing else, they know that there's a God that loves them, and they may not know that otherwise.
Yeah.
But for her, the first year of life is the most important in a kid's life. And we gave her a good first year, and she'll always have that. And it's not about us. It's about the kids.
Yeah, I can't even imagine how heartbreaking that is. I don't care how strong you think you are. That's going to affect you. And it should. It should hurt, if you're doing it right.
It should.
Well, Christina, I appreciate you being on the show with us, sharing your story, and I love that you were willing to take on all that emotional heartbreak and stuff, too, for the good of these kids. Thank you. Uplifting Way FM, this is The Wally Show. Gavin, I'm going to put you on the spot. Have you ever, struggled in finding God's will for your life? Honestly.
Oh, 100%. I mean, it was one of those things where I thought I had found it, I guess, after I'd graduated college. I'm like, I'm going to do something with, a film degree.
And then you ended up here.
I ended up here. God's will was different.
Yeah, not nearly as glamorous as a film job. You ended up in radio.
But I love this job.
Well, I think a lot of people struggle with this. And I saw this clip from Pastor Louie Giglio on TikTok talking about the ease, actually, of finding God's will for your life. And I know it can feel like this elusive, moving target because we put so much emphasis on this, but we feel like if we make the wrong decision, we'll somehow be outside of God's will. So if you've ever found yourself kind of wrestling with this concept, maybe Louie's take on this will help you out today.
It's not trying to find a needle in a haystack to know what God's will is for your life. What are you good at? What do you love to do? What serves other people? Do that. But remember, whatever you do, whether in word or deed, do it all in the name of the Lord Jesus.
My spiritual gift was sarcasm, so finding a job that worked for that, nailed it.
Crushed that.
Yeah,
actually.
I ended up right where I'm supposed to be. No one else would hire me. But you might not have found your place yet, and I totally get that, but there's a tendency to think, well, I haven't found it, and I'm not doing anything. But when I do, I'm going to serve God to the fullest. I'm going to do great things. Kind of like Gavin, I'm going to do great things over here. But the reality is he calls us to serve him with excellence wherever we are right now. So if you want to know God's will for your life, it's not a career. It's not another person. It's serving him and honoring him today. And the incredible thing is when you do that, it has a way of making you feel content where you are, and then the next step seems less important because you're living in this moment now, and this moment now is you're here for a moment. You're here for a reason, and you can make the most of that to still honor, bring glory to God, and bring people to him. So maybe if you've wrestled through some of this, maybe that little bit helps you out today. And that's what we're hoping anyway. Because sometimes I have to remind myself of this because I'm very much so a guy that looks at the next thing and can feel frustrated by being thwarted, and so I have to remind myself, no, you're in this now. Do this to the best of your ability.
Here's our little ginger snap.
I'm that gingerbread bad boy, that little oven-baked treat.
It's the Lucky Charm himself, Gavin, with News-ish on The Wally Show.
These days, attending a traditional university, whether private or public at this point, has gotten so expensive. And I can testify to that because my wife and I will be paying both of our universities for the next 10 years.
Oh, yeah. So you guys both have student loans.
Do have student loans, and it's a responsibility that we took on to receive a higher education. I'm grateful for that time there. But I found this article that kind of details out for the parents who have kids that are maybe starting high school here soon, maybe a little bit younger, but you've got your eyes set on college. They have their eyes set on college. So a couple tips on how to kind of hopefully relieve some of the burden of the financial.
I didn't plan for it. because I did not, and I regret it because it also limited where my daughter could go. 'Cause I'm like, hey, look, this is it, And so had I planned and done like the 529 or whatever it is in advance when she was little, it would have made a big difference. Like when she went to pick schools, it would be like, oh, where do you want to go? What do you want to do? And this way it was like, no, you have to get a certain score on your ACT so that you can cut your tuition in half if you want to go to this school.
Yeah, well, you said test scores. The first thing they list is sort of that one that I think everyone knows about is get good grades and test scores.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to the ACT.
Yeah.
You are required to get certain scores per each school for that AP score to then count for that school. I didn't get any of those, so none of my AP classes actually resulted in credits towards college.
And I never took an AP class in my life. I just barely got into
They're
college.
not fun. They also listed out earn college credits ahead of time. A lot of schools these days do have dual credit courses, which is something that it wasn't around when I was there. But if you push your kid into those types of classes, again, this is the point where there are kids who will say like, "Oh, school's just not my thing." There's if college is where you want to go, then it is important to make school your thing.
Well, if you're doing dual enrollment, what happens is you end up paying less for it than when they actually go to school.
Yes.
And so dual enrollment can save you a bunch of cash if they knock out like a half of a year or first year even of the required stuff, the Englishes and math and lits and all that other stuff. Like you can save a bunch of money, or a junior college, community college, great
option
for a lot of states because a lot of them are almost free.
Oh, and I having gone to a community college during high school for one of my classes, some of them are really good too.
That's what I did. I did my first 2 years at Palm Beach Community, and then I went to UCF and finished up my undergrad there, and then went on to get a master's. And I was the kid in school that the guidance counselor told me, you know what, maybe you should get used to working outside. That's good. You're going to spend a lot of days like that.
And then the last thing they recommended was to start it early. Start looking for scholarships early. Start planning your budget early, especially because if some parents, if you're out there, you've got a 9th grader and a 7th grader, you're going to have a little gap of time there where you've got 2 kids in college, and that bill is just not going to be friendly. So the sooner that you get ahead on again all of this,
I've told
the better.
You this.
Yes,
I've told
100%.
you. I've said start saving now, just even a little bit. And if your kid doesn't end up going to college, because college isn't for everybody, there are other things you can do with that. I wish you could take vacation, like a great vacation, or build a second addition to your house. You can't do that, but there are other things that you can do with it as well. So definitely you got to plan ahead for school so that your kids don't have like that crushing debt. Like that's the best thing you can do for your kids is help them out in that fact.
What's on your mind today?
Like I want to change, but I'm not open to make those changes.
Right. How does that make you feel?
From time to time here on the Wally Show on Uplifting Way FM, Betty Rock has told me I should be in therapy. Like when I say time to time, I mean like every day. And so we do this thing called shrink wrap, okay? Where if I'm not in therapy, this will help her. Like it looks like I'm making an effort, okay? So here's what I'd like is if you could share with me something that you've learned in your counseling session, or just with everybody that's listening, something that you actually thought was really good. You're like, man, this was pivotal for me. Because there's a stigma for therapy for some people, and I think therapy is good. I just don't think I need it like as much as Betty thinks I do. I think maybe I just drive her nuts with it. I don't know. And so I do think that having conversations about this stuff is like super important. And your experience might be the thing that helps somebody even go, hey, maybe I should go into this therapy thing and see having a conversation with somebody can help me out, and help me work through some of the things that I'm dealing with. And so that's what we ask you to do is just kind of pony up and go, okay, this was something really cool that I learned. And I want to share it with everybody right now. Gavin, have you ever done a therapy thing?
Yeah, I'll go to a counselor.
No way, really?
Once in a while.
Really?
Yes.
I did not know that.
I do have one I could add to this equation if you wanted to.
Go!
Just from
did
just this last week.
What? I thought golf course was your therapy.
Oh, it still is.
Okay.
That's number one.
Well,
This
give me.
number two.
Okay.
I've definitely been struggling lately with taking on all of the responsibility of both being a parent and trying to better myself as a person, whether it's through growing closer to God, getting in better physical shape, but also giving like my son and my wife every last ounce of like who I am and making everything great there. And he told me like, oh, you need to work towards finding that balance of the we and the me.
Okay.
Because if you pour way too much into the we, then sometimes like the me, the you in this scenario is something you don't want to lose. So finding that way to, and then if you pour too much into the me, then obviously that's not great for the we. So finding that balance of me and we, not we.
No, see, now here's the thing.
No,
though.
I know.
This is what I want you to realize, that maybe I'm growing too, because we're even talking about therapy.
I know, I've said that too many times.
You said we about 14 times, and you have the smallest bladder of anyone we've known. I didn't make a single tinkle joke. Not a single one. I didn't even laugh. I like stuck my face so you couldn't even see me smile into my microphone. So I think I'm doing pretty good today.
I think you're growing.
Yeah, I think I'm growing. Exactly. No, that's really good advice. I love that. I was a little distracted by the we. I'm not going to lie. I heard most of it.
That's his fault, not mine.
Exactly. All right. 855-33-WAY-FM. That's 855-33-WAY-FM. Love having you on, and especially things like this. I know we're kidding around, but I think that there can be like some seriousness in this that might be able to help somebody, and you sharing something that you learned from like one of your counseling sessions. So there you go. We call it shrink wrap. We'd love to have you on. 855-33-WAY-FM. What is your thing that you picked up?
Forgiveness. I learned recently through going through counseling that I had not truly forgiven my stepdad for abusing me. And he just passed away about 5 months ago, and it hit me really hard because I thought that I had let that go, and I hadn't. And God was really showing me that I needed to truly forgive him.
You bring up a good point, though, too, like in forgiveness, because I do believe that forgiveness helps us move on. It doesn't absolve someone from their sins or crimes, and with your stepfather not being around to actually confront, can you still forgive?
Right. I had said in the past that I had truly forgiven him, but emotions would come up often.
Yeah.
And when he passed away, I thought I would be done with it. I thought, finally, he's gone. I don't have to see him anymore. I don't have to interact with him, which is a terrible way to be. But I realized that I truly had not forgiven him for all the hurt and pain that he caused me in my life. And it took me 60 years to finally get that. And I am so thankful for the Lord and going through the counseling program to understand that guilt and shame, that I need to give that to the Lord. And it's gone. It's his. And he has fully restored that heart of a new spirit in me. And I am so thankful.
Well, Tori, I appreciate you sharing this today. I think it's good for you to talk about this, but I also think it's really good for other people that aren't in that place yet and might have a similar experience to know that there is freedom in forgiveness, and it's a choice that we make. So thank you.
Yes, thank you.
What do you got?
I'm still going through counseling. Abused by my dad. Nice thing is I got a Christian counselor. She basically open up about it. Talk to people that you trust.
I think there's this tendency to hide the things that bring us shame, even though you had no part in that. You weren't culpable as a child, and yet it still is something you felt, I've got to hide this. I can't talk about this. But there's something about when you give it voice and when you bring it to the light, it takes the stigma away.
It does. It really does. When you actually open up about it and open up about what happened to you, when I opened up and I started talking to my wife and some of my friends about it, it makes your heart bigger.
And I think there's probably a byproduct in that too, is it helps other people in your life understand you. Like your wife might not know why you do things a certain way or why you act a certain way around different situations, but knowing the backstory, now she can be more constructive in helping you navigate your way personally and you guys as a couple together, and it's because you talked about it.
Yep. That's the biggest thing. We were literally on the verge of divorce.
Yeah.
And then I started opening up and she started realizing what was going on and what was actually happening. At first, it hurts. You literally relive almost everything that you talk about. But it gets easier as you go.
That's a good warning, like, look, there's a little bit of pain, like working out. There's no pain, no gain. And so if you're aware of that going in, hey, it's going to dredge some stuff up. It's going to be hard. But on the other side of this, it does get better. So I think that's really good for people to hear the practical advice in that too, man.
Right. And there's a light at the end of it. Trust me.
Growing up in poverty has never been easy for children, but with the added challenges of the pandemic, conflict, and natural disasters, families around the world are facing an unprecedented food crisis. Unfortunately, those who are already hungry are now even more desperate. But by sponsoring a child through compassion, you can help provide life-sustaining essentials such as food and clean water. And with your compassionate support, that child can not only survive, but also flourish. You can find out how and choose a child to sponsor when you click on the compassion banner at wayfm.com.
Uplifting Way FM. This is The Rock Report with Betty Rock.
Betty Rock is out today, so I am filling in. When you go to the movies, you have to suspend disbelief a little bit to some degree, or you're going to hate every movie you go to. I struggle with this.
Really?
I like realism.
I mean, like, I go to watch superheroes and Transformers, which can escape from reality.
When I watch like a fight sequence, like a John Wickian fight sequence, and somebody has been in a fight for 20 minutes and they're not even really tired and they're still going, I've been punched before. Takes one.
I've gone upstairs before.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah, exactly. And you're exhausted, so I think that's super unrealistic. But I found this post that listed a bunch of the biggest movie unrealistic things, okay? So one of them are, in all spy movies, they have them going through like spy ducts and stuff like that all the time, like when they're crawling through air conditioning ducts to get to the next thing.
And I've never been in one of those in my life before. I think you worked in air ducts for a while there.
I've been in those before. And so they're like, oh, yeah, they're spotless and they can just climb around. No, my job was to climb in them. So they will hold you to climb in them, and they're very noisy, and vacuum them out because it's all this gunk and dust in there. And there's all these sharp screws that are in there, too, that you have to navigate around. And so they're like, yeah, that is really unrealistic. And it truly is. And to navigate your way in there is so funny. And somebody like being on the other end of a phone, like, make a left at the next air duct junction.
Not a possibility.
No, it's just too much. This one is really great. Hackers going, let me see. Then typing 300 words per minute. And then 5 seconds later going, I'm in. No one hacks that fast.
No, and they're always hitting like random buttons.
Yeah.
And you're like, you're just hitting A really fast. Come on.
Although I will say, like, it feels like it's the same thing at the airport. When you go and you're checking in, they're like, just 1 minute. And they're like, no, can't find your bag. I'm like, you didn't even look.
It's the same thing when I go upstairs and talk to an IT guy. Hey, my internet's not working.
Yeah.
All right, you're back in, sir.
Yeah, no, it never happens that quickly. No one ever is looking for parking. Like, they always seem to end up somewhere and they park right away.
Yeah, you're super right about that.
There's no way, man. Like, especially like all these downtown movies. I could never save the world because I'd be like trying to find parking for 45 minutes. And in that amount of time, everything would just evaporate, And then finally, this is one that I thought was really funny. When people brush their teeth in the movies, a lot of times they're not using toothpaste.
What?
Yeah, because it's gross, and you're like,
right.
Think about like movies, and they'll be like, oh, I'm brushing my teeth, and they're talking, and there's like no toothpaste.
And they're never using electric toothbrushes either.
No.
It's always a normal one that you can have a decent conversation with.
Yeah, my Sonicare, I'd be like, my wife tries to talk to me when I'm brushing my teeth. I can never hear what she says. And so, that's kind of not a horrible thing. So maybe they should add that into a movie. There you go. That's going to do it for your Rock Report. Uplifting Way FM, this is the Wally Show. And we play a lot of great songs on the show, but we kind of forget that the people that perform these songs are just people, just normal people just like us, and they have lives, and sometimes you find things out about them. Like, oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, I had a couple of friends recently who went to a Forrest Frank show. You know him for his just smash hit Good Day.
I'm about to have a good day, no matter what they say.
Said it was one of the best shows they've ever been
really?
to. I've seen
fun.
I've seen pictures. It just looks like a good time. But then my friend, she posted on her Instagram story saying, Forrest Frank just feels like he's going to be this generation's Billy Graham. And you're like, that's a weirdly specific and massive thing to say.
It's big shoes.
I asked my buddy about it, and he said, oh, yeah, it's really interesting. And it's actually kind of more interesting because Forrest Frank's grandpa, Neil Frank, actually a couple times opened up and spoke at a Billy Graham crusade.
No way.
Yeah, his name is Neil Frank.
That's kind of cool.
He's actually a meteorologist, so that's a cool profession. But he had this journey through faith about finding like who God was to him. And so I found a little clip of him talking at one of the crusades.
The great tragedy is that many of us have never taken the time to find out what living is all about and to answer maybe what I consider to be the most important question in life. Is there a God? And if there is, what must I do to be related to him?
Oh, that's kind of cool. I love how everybody from like the 50s and 60s on a microphone sounds the same. That you could have told me that was Billy Graham, and I wouldn't have doubted a bit.
It was.
I know. So that's Forrest Frank's granddad opening up for Billy Graham. That's kind of cool, man.
Yeah, it gives a little bit of credence to like, oh, why is Forrest Frank the way he is? Well, you can see what his grandpa was like.
Yeah. Well, let's do this. 855-33-WAY-FM. Maybe there's like some weird little factoid or nugget that you've learned about some of your favorite Christian artists. I'd love to know that, like, John Cooper from Skillet can juggle tissues or whatever. I have no idea. But I'm just curious. He can juggle bunny rabbits.
Okay.
Like fluffy bunny stuffed rabbits. I don't know. But I would love to know, like, something that you have learned that you're like, hey, did you know this about this Christian artist? 855-33-WAY-FM. That's 855-33-WAY-FM. We'll take yours right now. All right, Debbie, what is a fact that you know about a Christian artist?
Someone from our church told me that Lauren Daigle actually started out on the course to be a nurse.
Oh, I could see that. She has like a tender heart for people, and now she's trying to heal people's hearts.
Yes, somebody in the music business saw her and said, hey, I need to set you up on this path. They did, and now she's who she is.
The rest is history. There's another nurse in Christian music that I don't think a lot of people would know or expect. It's the band Red. Michael, the band's lead singer, is actually an emergency room nurse. I mean, that's how he would offset, I guess, the lean times of Christian music. He'd pick up some nursing shifts when he was back in town. Hope he's not having to do that anymore, because Red's great. Or unless he wants to, because he might just be doing it because he loves serving people, musically and physically.
Indeed.
Well, Debbie, I appreciate you being on the show with us today, and thank you for your factoid.
All righty. Thank you.
Just the facts, ma'am.
Uplifting Way FM, this is The Wally Show, and we are talking about some of your favorite Christian artists, and we were like, hey, what are some interesting facts that you know about them that maybe not other people know? And so we threw this out on Facebook as well, and what'd you find, Gavin?
Yeah, Jasmine, she commented saying that Jason Gray has a severe stuttering problem, but it goes away when he's singing.
Oh, yeah, and that happens to a lot of, people that stutter. A little bit of Jason Gray and nothing. No stutter.
No, you would never have guessed that. You would never figure that. That's kind of a special thing to go from something that probably is tough in real life, but then his career is based on it going away.
Well, the thing about it is, like, Mel Tillis was a famous, like, country singer, stutterer, and other people that have this, they say that when you know what you're going to do, like stuttering gets worse when you don't know what you're going to say.
Sure.
You're trying to perform it. When you're performing songs that you sing every night, it gets it gets easier to not stutter. But he would struggle in, like, conversations in between the songs sometimes. So just to hear him sing, you would have no idea. One time, I remember years ago when he first came out, I was interviewing him, and in radio you have dead air. And so the second that you have anything that is silence on the air, as a radio guy, you want to fill that void. And so I'm interviewing him, and he's stuttering, and I am finishing his sentences for him just out of habit, man. I'm like, and we're in the middle of the interview, and he's like, "You're finishing all my sentences." I'm like, "Dude, I cannot help it. This is not fair to me either."
That's tough.
I said, so just I'm gonna sit back. I'm gonna let you do, and I'm gonna really try hard, but just know how hard this is for me. And he was such a great guy about it. But then years later, I think there was something really interesting that I think is beneficial for other people too. Is he went through a divorce, And I remember talking to him at the time, and he was kind of in it, and we were talking, and I said, well, are you going to, share this with people? Because that's what artists do. You share your life. And he goes, not now. And I was a little shocked. I'm like, because I would just say, why? Yeah, I mean, this is what you're going. This is what you do as a musician. And he goes, I've had some really good counseling from friends of mine and people that are close to me. And they're like, this is not the time because you don't have any resolution. You're just in it floundering yourself. And the way you talk about it now might not be beneficial to somebody versus being on the other side of it when you can see healing and hope and a different path and can have forgiveness and all that other stuff. You'll talk about it differently and in a way that's more constructive for people than talking about it in the moment. And I thought that was like super good advice that like I've held on to and that I've tried to share with other people that are going through something like that about like God can use your story and the cliches. He can make your message and all that stuff. But deciding when to share that, it's probably a little different for everybody. But for him, that was good advice. And I think it's actually pretty applicable to all of us.
And now for some good news.
Uplifting YFM. This here is the Wally Show with a little bit of good news. Giddy up, because the regular news can be a bit cantankerous. And so we like to find some stuff that feels a little better than that. How is this for someone doing the right thing and getting rewarded? There was someone at a convenience store. They found a $100 bill just sitting there. And they could have kept it, walked on out, hey, thank you, Lord. But instead, they told the cashier to hang on to it, which at a convenience store is really risky, too, because you're like, are they going to actually hang on to it and see if someone claims it? Or are they going to pocket it, And so they said, hang on to this in case the person who left it comes back. And then minutes later, they bought a lottery ticket, and they won $1 million.
Oh,
instantly.
Their act of kindness resulting in a blessing.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I don't do a lot of lottery type stories, but I just thought that was interesting that they did the right thing, and then there was something at the end of that was really good for them. But I like what this person said. They said their philosophy was if you take something that's not yours, you'll never get your own. I'm like, okay, I like that.
That's a great approach.
Yeah, I like that. Gavin, what do you got? Good news, giddy up, go.
There was a heart doctor from Oklahoma. He saved a guy's life on a recent flight from Uganda to Amsterdam. A man on board was having chest pains, and lucky for him, this guy, cardiologist, TJ, he was there, and even luckier, his TJ was on his way home from a medical mission in Uganda.
Oh, wow.
And he had a bunch of supplies with him.
Oh,
he ended up giving him 5 medications to treat a heart attack.
Wow.
And then he also had this credit card-sized EKG device with him. He said he always has it on him now, ever since he had a heart attack last
really?
year.
Holy cow.
So,
I think they're both lucky I wasn't on that flight because I would have been like, is there a doctor on this flight? I would have raised my hand. Like, I've seen enough TV shows, no one shows up, I'd show up, and then I'd probably be in the way of the real doctor. Yeah, I think, sir, you need chest compressions. Sir, you need mouth to mouth. No. All right, that's going to do it for your good news giddy up.
Well, that's the end, but it doesn't have to be. Check out our Aftercast. It's new stuff you didn't hear in the podcast. Be sure to rate us on iTunes as well as connect with us on social media. Just search Wally Show. And if you'd like to join our Facebook group made exclusively for you potties, the link is in the description of this podcast. Thanks to Colorado Christian University Online for supporting what we do.